What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We are here, Skorch the Fears. We're here with Tadi. She is awesome. She's really cool. I saw her on I'm forgetting the name of their podcast, but with Daryl Ellison and Mike Gomes on their podcast. She's amazing. She's an absolute killer in real estate. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
100%. So, Tadi, for the people that don't know you, really just quickly introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what you do in real estate, and just like a quick intro into just your business.
I'm Tadi. I basically got started in real estate when I got laid off during COVID. I was a waitress. So I got laid off. I pretty much just had to figure it out. I got on YouTube and I started looking up different things. And in the past, I had tried a lot of different, make money from home online things like Amazon FBA. And I tried to sell like eyelashes and all these different products on Amazon. And I basically just ended up spending a lot of money, not making any money. So when I came across wholesaling, I had heard about it before, but I was a little skeptical. I was a little bit backed into a corner though, with just being laid off. I'm like, all right, I need to make money. I'm just going to try. Just looking on some YouTube videos, I did what the YouTube video said to do and started calling homeowners. And I was calling homeowners where I lived in Las Vegas, and it was really, really challenging. Everyone was saying basically I'm the 20th person to call, take me off the list. So I was getting really discouraged by that. And I found out about something called virtual wholesaling. So that led into what I do now and what I've been doing for almost 3 years now, which is virtual wholesaling, which basically is the same thing as wholesaling, but you're doing it in markets that are not in your backyard. So while I was living in Vegas, I started wholesaling in Cleveland, Ohio, which was 2,000 miles away. And that's where I did my first deals. From there, I went on to also wholesale in St. Louis, Missouri, Georgia, North Carolina, and a lot of other places. So it started with Cleveland, Ohio, which I stumbled across just like looking on Facebook groups. And from there, basically for the next year and a half, I virtually wholesaled a ton of deals. I think my first year, I did like 32 deals, pretty much the same my second year. And I, along the way, started helping people on Instagram as I was like documenting.
Did you say 32 deals in your first year?
Yeah.
That's wild. That is really good. I love it. Have you just mainly been wholesaling?
Mainly been wholesaling. So I've bought about 9 properties over time, but I, along the way, sold them all at different times for like different reasons. I've learned a lot. I've tried to flip some houses. I tried to flip some houses when I was just like a year into it. And I felt really confident at the time about what I was doing wholesaling. So I've learned a lot. And with going into coaching and everything too, I think when I first started in real estate, I got so excited by all the different opportunities and I just started doing everything. I think it was good and bad because I got to learn what I'm good at and what I like and what I don't like. That was a good side. But the bad side of it is I never really focused on one thing and got to really be great at one thing. I kind of did everything. So now going into year 3, I'm like taking a look at, okay, what am I excellent at and what am I just kind of good at, but I don't really like doing, and shifting the focus. But that's pretty much my story, what I've been doing and where I'm at now. It's been a crazy journey, but it really just started with YouTube and listening to a bunch of podcasts just like this. Literally.
Well, I love it. I mean,
hours.
It's amazing. It's amazing to start from like that, like starting from like your first year, 32 deals. That's freaking impressive, right? I probably started around the same time that you did, but like I just hit 30 deals this year. So like, I just want to say good job. Like, that's awesome.
Thank you.
This podcast is called Skorch the Fears, right? And so I always start with this question, like for you, and like mainly being, what was your greatest fear when you were starting and how did you overcome it?
I think my greatest fear was a little different from a lot of people's biggest fear, which is just talking to the sellers. Mine was lowballing the sellers. I felt really nervous to give that really low offer. I think that's the hardest part of the whole thing. Once you can get over that, it's just having conversations. But that was my greatest fear at the time. And how I got over it is kind of just by not really making the offer, but kind of trying to run a range of numbers without offending them. And I think that's been my best way to do it. So like, for example, I'll say like, okay, well, this address here sold for about this much and this address sold for about this much. So just based on what I see online, this is the range. And then if they get mad, I can say, well, I'm not offering you that. It's just what I, see online. So that's been my best way to combat that fear and that objection of price. But I think at the end of the day, price was my biggest fear.
Explain what you mean. Like, what do you mean by price? Why was that a fear for you?
I just felt like if I give them a really low offer, I was going to get cussed out or hung up on. I
Hmm.
was afraid of that rejection or that initial angry reaction from the seller.
Gotcha. And then, so how'd you get over it?
Well, I just had to just do it, but I like the method of not really putting it on me. Like, I'm not offering you this, but this is just what I'm seeing, kind of to get an idea of what their number would be. And then
Mhm.
if their number is too high, then at that point I can be like, look, this is where we need to be. Obviously, we're really have a big difference, but at least it'll get me to know where they are if they don't want to tell me. If it's just one of those sellers that don't want to tell me how much they want.
So let's go through it. Like, you were just a waitress, COVID hits. How do you even hear about real estate? Like, tell us a little bit about the journey.
Well, when I was 19, so at this point, I'm 26, I think, 25, 26 when COVID happened. So when I was 19, though, I had got my real estate license. I had heard about wholesaling. I literally put up like 2 bandit signs. I didn't really think it was real. And then I got my real estate license after that. I got my real estate license. I had like no confidence. I didn't think I could do a deal. So I went into timeshares with my real estate license. And in timeshares, I learned sales and I worked a bunch of jobs after that. But one of the jobs that I worked after that was at a general contractor. So there I learned about a lot about repairs because this general contractors worked only for property management. So it was just rentals. So I learned a lot about the basic repairs that properties need. So throughout all that, I really learned everything that I needed for this, but I didn't know I was learning that. When I got laid off, what made me think wholesaling and real estate was when I was a waitress, this guy came and sat in the restaurant and he left a little business card that said real estate problem solver. And I went on his Instagram and I kind of
Mm.
looked at what he was doing and I asked him like, "Hey, how can I get started?" And he was like, "You could invest your money, your savings into one of my flips." So I'm asking him about that. Okay, if I give you $20,000, what does that look like? And then I was like, okay, what if I want to start with less than that? How could I get started? And he was like, well, you could start with wholesaling. And I'm like, oh, here's that wholesaling thing again. And when he told
Mm.
me who he learned from, it was the same person that I had heard of wholesaling from years before when I was 19 years old. His name was the house flipping ninja, Daniel Wiafi. Like, I don't know if you
Hmm.
ever heard of him, but this is like one of the very first wholesaling gurus. And he was out in Vegas like me. So when he said that, I kind of felt like, okay, this is weird that this is happening right now when I need to make some money. So I'm just going to go with it. So I went on YouTube and that's where I saw Brent Daniels and TTP and I downloaded that
Great
script.
guy.
I literally got prop stream that same day, got a dialer, went on Google and typed in like auto dialers for real estate, like literally just going through the motions of what YouTube videos are saying to do. And then the next day I was just started cold calling.
Love it. Awesome. So then I always find it interesting. I think it's like a certain type of personality. And you and me probably have that same personality where it's like, oh, I can make tens of thousands of dollars just by calling people. Like there's like treasure out in the world in these houses. Like, okay, let's do it. But what do you say to people who are like having trouble with the people like cussing at them or like, just like not willing to do the steps or like are scared to do the steps even though they know bad things are going to happen?
Yeah, I would definitely say that in those scenarios, you just have to suck it up and do it. Or, some people say eat the frog or however you want to say it. The key is you suck it up and do it. You can read all the motivational books you want and listen to all the speeches, but at the end of the day, like you have to just do it. How I always psych myself into doing something that I don't want to do is like I set everything up to where the next step is just to do it. So, for example, if it is making a call or getting on the dialer, I'll set everything up to where all I have to do is click start dialing. From there, I'll just give myself a little pep talk. And, one thing that before I gave this speech, one of my friends, I was nervous, and one of my friends was like, just go into the bathroom and look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, one of us is going to kick ass out there. It's going to be either me or you. And I thought that was really corny and cute. So I
Hmm.
went and did it and it felt really good. So I think a little pep talk, pre-call affirmations, and then you just count down 3, 2, 1, and you click the button and you just do it because there's no way around it. If you want to have a little ritual, little ceremony to get yourself going, do it. But at the end of the day, there's nothing else that's going to do it but just doing it.
Call affirmations. Like
Yeah,
what?
just like
What would that
someone on
be?
the other side of this phone needs my help. Someone out there needs to sell their house and they have a problem
Mm,
property and I need to help them. Saying things that are going to make you feel good about it. And I can't
I
wait till
really
someone
like
cusses
that.
me out because the next call is going to be a deal. I used to always say that to myself. I can't wait till someone cusses me out because the next call is going to be a deal right after that. So when someone cusses me out, I'll be like, all right, good, got it over with. Now time to get my deal. So all those things you can do to hype yourself up and prep your mind. But I think the other thing that once you're in the calls, the thing that we need to be very realistic about is the amount of time that you're going to need to dedicate to it, because people always say like, oh wow, it's so crazy that you did 6 deals your first month, or oh wow, it's so crazy that you did over 30 deals your first year. But I was cold calling for like 10 hours a day. It wasn't like I was doing a little bit.
Mm,
And then even after I hired cold callers, I was still cold calling for like 6 hours a day. So
nice.
it was a immense time commitment that took a lot of other areas of my life. Like I am a mom, you know what I mean? I did have family and friends that wanted to spend time with me, but I had to make this first. It's amazing that there's $10,000 out there sitting in houses waiting for you, but they're not sitting there waiting for you. They're waiting for the person that's going to sit there and make the calls. And that's the part that is why people don't actually end up doing it. Or even people who do a bunch of deals can stop, because it's a constant time commitment. If you don't
I
have that to give that time commitment, then you can't expect to make that.
I love that. There are so many different things. There's some good. I like the pre-call affirmations. I never did that. I used to cold call. You don't know my business model. I am now direct to agent, but I used to do all direct to seller and I would just cold call. But I definitely noticed there's a huge difference if like your mindset for cold calling is I'm helping people here. Somebody
Definitely.
needs me. I need to find the person that actually needs me versus like, screw me. Somebody else is about to swear at me and this is not going to be fun. Those two mindsets
Oh,
change
you
everything for
shouldn't
cold
cold call
calling.
if you're gonna have that other mindset.
Right. Like 100%. And like, I just love that. And that's like a good tidbit if you're cold calling to just do pre call affirmations. What was the one you really liked again? Say it again.
I always like to say that I can't wait till somebody cusses me out because the next person I talk to is gonna be a
I
deal.
like that a lot. That's good. And it gets into like something that I've thought about too, and that like one of my buyers told me once. I actually freak out more for showings than I do for cold calling. I don't know why. I think it's because I've had bad experiences with it. But I remember like talking to one of my buyers and being like, oh yeah, like just know that you are going to screw up and it is going to happen and someone will swear at you and like, but that's okay. That's why we get paid the big bucks. And I remember thinking that it's like, oh right, like it's actually you have to have that happen in order
Yeah.
to make it in this business. I was talking to Kent Clothier, if you know him, and he was talking about how you wouldn't step into the octagon, you wouldn't be a boxer unless you were willing to get hit. And it's kind
Yep.
of the same with entrepreneurship in a
Yep.
lot of different ways. So I'm just reaffirming what you
I like
already
that.
said.
I agree.
You're cold calling 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
How long did you do that for and how'd you survive?
So I did that so the 10 hours a day, I did that probably for like the first 2.5 months. And then I hired a cold caller. And then I would cold
Mm,
call for like 6 hours a day. But I was cold calling sellers and I was cold calling buyers too at the time, which I stopped doing like 4 months into it. But in the beginning, I was really hell bent on like, this is what I need to do. And I'm just going to do what YouTube says. So, but I learned, as I did that, I learned what worked for me in my market, what didn't work for me in my market, what was
right.
easiest. And it allowed me to like kind of craft. And I learned the best thing I would say I took from all those hours of cold calling was that it did allow me to learn the market from talking to so many sellers, because it wasn't where I lived. I was unfamiliar with the city, but it allowed me to really learn the city by talking to the sellers like someone who wants to learn. So it really helped me work on my sales skills. I don't think it's necessary to cold call for that long, but for me it did help me, and it kind of helped me be dedicated.
I love it. So you did that your first year and then you found out about Brent Daniels. Did you ever join any mentorships or anything like that or did you just keep going?
No, so I joined Charged Up, Chris Jefferson's
Oh,
mentorship for a
great.
couple
I like
months.
him.
Yeah, I like him a lot. So my only thing was like I'm one of those people that like I'll buy stuff and I'll never use it. So that's my problem. So I was in it for a couple months and then I ended up just canceling it because I wasn't utilizing the resources there. I was just still failing forward. That was the only thing I really did. There was one called the Kingdom Real Estate. It was like a Facebook group. And when I early on, I signed up for that and I was in that for a couple months too. But mostly I would say Facebook groups like Wholesaling Houses Ground Zero, Wholesaling Houses for Newbies, like Facebook groups like that, I would go into when I had a specific issue in a deal and I would say, hey, is there any experienced investors that can help me out with this? This is what's going on. Like one house had squatters, or one house was legally a duplex, but the guy was saying it was a triplex. But I didn't understand what that even meant. I didn't understand that meant that if there's not 3 meters, then it's not a triplex. Like things like that I wouldn't understand because I don't know anything about real estate. I was able to post in
That's
those
so
groups
interesting.
and get people to help me in real time. Like people would respond to me within hours. So that's how I solved a lot of my problems, I guess you could say, with like free
That's such a good
mentors that's
hack. I
out
really
there.
like that as a hack. That's a good hack where you don't have to spend any money. It's like, look, if you don't
A
want to
lot of people
join
want to help.
mentorships,
There's so
yeah,
many
people will help
investors
you.
out there who just want to help. There really is. And I think people take that for granted.
100%. I mean, like that's such a good hack. I've never even thought of it. It's like instead of like paying money to join these mentorships, like I did that and it works out great. But you can also just go into some free, whenever you have a question, go into a free Facebook group and be like, hey, how the hell do you deal with squatters? What do you do about this in like Oklahoma or wherever you are? That's genius. That I'm telling my social media manager to clip that one out. That's like a good 30-second tidbit. I
It
love it.
is.
So do you feel like you have any mentors now, though, or are you still just Facebook grouping it?
I will say that I have paid for mentorships now. The mentor that I have right now isn't for real estate, but
Hmm.
it is really, really helpful. And then the mentorships that I've done for real estate have been like, like 3-day classes, and with
Mm-hmm.
that come with like masterminds where we all stay connected after. So I've done a few of those, but I'm not in like a mastermind for real estate right now.
Interesting. I love
Yeah, I
it.
thought of joining a couple of them. I might, but right now I just joined this mastermind in November. It's more for like the digital marketing and everything like that, and it's been really fun and really rewarding, I would say. Like it's crazy how much quicker things go when you have a mentor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I feel
it
like for
is.
real estate it was a little different for me because I just spent all my time in real estate versus like spending all of my time on the computer doing other things is harder than talking to sellers. I think I have a natural enjoyment for that, for the sales process I did in the beginning. So it was easy for me to be on the phone for hours versus like when you're doing other things like making a website, like stuff like that, it doesn't really go with what I'm good at.
Okay, so you're cold calling 10 hours a day. You hire one cold caller, then you're doing it 6 hours a day, which is still a lot in
Yeah.
general, right? So how does your business change? How does it grow? How does it evolve from there?
From there, I ended up adding cold callers and adding a couple acquisitions guys, and then I added one dispo girl. So this is just like over the course of time. At the most, I had like 8 cold callers. I was doing text message marketing. I was doing a lot of
Ooh.
different types of marketing. In the last 6 months, I've scaled back because I really started working, putting a lot of time and effort into content and digital marketing and just branding myself.
Hmm.
So, like at the very now moment, I have 3 cold callers. So I'm not doing like 8 cold callers and having this big, because at the most we were getting like 23, 25 leads a day, and it's really time consuming to like be going through that many leads and make sure everybody's making the calls and make sure everyone's making the follow-ups. Like it's so time consuming to have that. So I scaled it kind of back right now. I don't think that direct to seller marketing is something that I would ever stop in my life, even if I was doing something totally different, even for my
Gotcha.
own, like buying my own properties.
Gotcha. And then I'm just curious. So what does your team look like right now? You said 3 VAs. Is it 3 VAs and you?
Yeah, well, 3 cold callers in me and then one acquisitions VA. And then I don't have a
Gotcha.
dispo person right now.
Gotcha. Cool, 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 cool. And so what are you focusing on? You said you're focusing on branding yourself. Like in what way? Like what are you tell us like what's the switch? Why the switch?
So I wouldn't even say the switch. I would say like maybe like took my foot off the gas in just wholesaling for a couple different reasons. So number one, even when it came to doing deals, I see myself doing a lot more deals the more reach I have so on social media. So in the
Right.
beginning, 100% of my deals came from cold calling and texting and whatever I was doing. And
Mhm.
as I started to grow social media, people would bring me deals to JV, and all of my biggest deals, funny enough, have been from JVs. And then another layer of that too is when I started doing my virtual wholesale 30 program where I teach people how to virtually wholesale, those people ended up going into virtual markets, doing a bunch of deals, and in turn wanting to JV deals with me too, because now we've built this relationship and now they've made money with what I've taught them. You know what I mean? So we have a
Right.
really great trust based relationship. And now I'm doing deals with my students too. So for me, the more this grows, it's like an ecosystem. The more it grows, the more deals I can do, the more my portfolio can build, the more people I can help get out of their jobs or careers or things that they're not wanting to be doing and be happy financially for once, like all of these things. It's kind of like an ecosystem. So when I say building my brand, a lot of content, like a lot of making a lot of videos, going on live a lot, coming up with challenges for people on Instagram, spending money like to boost posts and things like that so more people see those things. Kind of like what you were saying with having a team. Having a team for this is just as important as having a team for real estate.
Yeah. No, I love it. It's cool. It's a cool journey. I'm like similar with yours, except I'm trying to make the wholesaling self-sufficient as much as I can before I go. Well, I'm still going full circle, but like you said, you got a coaching program and stuff, and that's awesome. What's the most rewarding part about real estate in general for you? I like
The
hearing this answer
people,
to the question.
the people that I've
The
met,
people,
the people, yeah, 100%. Like even this conversation right now, who knows what me and you are going to do in the future? And look what
100%.
it started from. You saw me on Instagram. I would say that I don't know if real estate would be as rewarding without social media for me, because social media has been, because I started documenting right when I started making calls to sellers, it
Hmm.
kind of grew together. And I think that's what's a little bit different for me, that it's always been a part of my real estate journey.
What
So
made you want to do that? What made you want to start? Because I
I
saw
didn't
that
think that
like
I would
you
really stick to
literally.
it if I didn't
Oh,
put
really?
myself out there. I
Yeah.
was like, man, I'm gonna like say that I'm gonna do this, and if I put it out there, I'm gonna feel like an asshole if I quit. So I
Hmm.
started off on my personal page, and people were literally talking shit to me in my stories. They're replying back, So I made a different Instagram for it, and I put on there, if you guys want to
Mm.
follow me and be positive, follow me. But if you're gonna you know what I mean? Just be stupid, because I have all my friends just being jerks. That's when I started this other Instagram, and I would text blast and I would cold call and I would just post on there like, let's see what's gonna happen. I showed my office, which was just a desk on a wall with my vision board and like some affirmations around me.
Hmm.
Just being in that environment, I think, really helped me. And documenting all of that helped people who were also trying to learn. We started collabing and helping each other, and it just grew together. I think that all of those people have been the most rewarding part. I've gone on to have other businesses and do other things with people that I've met from Instagram because of real estate. So, and then the money, I guess that would be the other most rewarding.
No, but I like that a lot. Like I like the idea of I wish I had done that. I wish I had like started doing social media at the beginning of like when I just started. My logic was just like it's like man, like I don't have time for this. I need to just actually get some freaking money in the door right now. But the fact you did it is amazing. How did you deal, because that is such a common thing. I dealt with this with social media until like last year. I dealt with like the man like I don't want to put myself out there. People are
Right,
mean. Like, what are they going to
right.
think of me? Like, who am I even? Like, who am I to be interviewing Toddy right now? Like, who am I? Like what do I deserve to be interviewing these giants or these really big people in the industry and be trying to give advice to people on real estate, right? So what would you say to those people who like to the starting entrepreneurs who are like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Like my friends are going to be mean to me. I don't want to put myself out there.
Well, that's literally why I made another Instagram. I highly suggest it. Get free yourself from the judgment of your hometown assholes, because that's like
Right.
the hardest part, I think. is just the people that have known you your whole life judging you. And then once you get over that, it's kind of, I won't say it goes away. I think the imposter syndrome kind of always follows you, but you have to convince yourself that you're bigger than that. You have to know who are you? You have to know who are you? That's a good question to ask. Who am I? And I think I've always known that I was meant to do something bigger than just make money or bigger than just be happy for myself and live in luxury. Like that's not what really motivates me. So I've always known that I was going to have to get over a lot of stuff. I'm going to have to get over that it's hard. I'm going to have to get over that people are going to make fun of me because I want to do something great. That's just what comes with trying to do something great. Like they made fun of Muhammad Ali and now
Right.
look how people talk about him. So I think
Right.
we just have to accept that if we want to be great, people are going to talk about us. I don't give a damn what people say about me, honestly. But that's not to say that when people said things, like a lot of people would always say, who are these people going on social media talking about real estate and they've only been doing it for a year, 2 years? You know, a lot of people say a lot of things like that. And to people who are very experienced and you say things like that, just know that you are discouraging people from being on a
Right.
platform, expressing themselves, being themselves, trying to just document their journey. I never once said I'm an expert at real estate until I became an expert at virtual wholesaling. And I still only say I'm an expert at that. I don't sit here and say I'm an expert at real estate. I'm not an expert flipper. I'm not an expert a lot of different things in real estate. So, but even to sit here and say that I'm doing this and I teach a course on this, like that takes a lot because you're always going to feel like there's going to be people who have a lot more experience than you that are going to look down on you or talk about you. And it happens. And it happened to me a lot. But at the end of the day, those people didn't pay my bills. They didn't take care of my kids, but
That's so true.
I did, you know, with the work that I've put in. And a lot of people have turned around. I remember one of the first buyers I talked to, he was such a jerk. He was like, "You know nothing about Cleveland. You don't need to be wholesaling. If you even know any buyers, you should just give them to me and let me give you a percentage because you're
Jeez.
never going to make it." You're like, he just totally chewed me out. Ben, literally like a year and some change later, he contacted me again. Didn't really apologize, but I took it as an apology, but basically it was like, you know, he sees what I'm doing and like good job or whatever. So just know that everything comes full circle. Just keep doing great things and being the greatest version of yourself. And there will be a time where you can look back and feel worthy of giving advice. But whether you know it or not, you're worthy of giving advice about something right now. You've gone through
I
something
love
and you
it.
can help people get through it.
I love that so much for so many different reasons. One is like, yeah, he didn't put food on the table. It's like, screw you, dude. Who are you? And like guys, like especially with buyers, this isn't even social media related, but like this is like when you send out a deal with buyers, guys, don't get
Yeah,
discouraged when one says your ARV is trash, because I guarantee you'll get a text in like the next 5 minutes where they're like, I want it. Right. Like that just happens. And it's the same with social media too, right? Like there's
for
a lot of
sure.
people who are like who are going to be really supportive, and some who are going to be like, who are you? Like, what are you doing? Right. I was lucky. I actually have like pretty good friends. I don't think nobody ever said it to my face that I wasn't going to make it, but people, I think they said behind their back, they were like, my friends were just like, oh, Jonah, like, here he goes again with that crazy entrepreneurial idea. But this was the one where I actually was like, no, 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 we're going to do this. In terms of just social media, 100% do it. You will not regret it. Like Tadi was saying, like she gets deals from it. I get deals from it. I get credibility. I get private money from it. I get everyone, like it's just like, I think it's the way that this might be a screwed up way of saying it, but it's also how we judge whether someone's experienced or not, is whether they're on social media, right? So I feel like since I've started doing social media stuff, it's made it where people are just more willing to trust me in the deals that I'm already doing. I can send them to an Instagram page where I've done hundreds of reels, right? Or I can send them to my YouTube channel and they're like, oh yeah, like this guy's actually putting out content. That means he's real.
Yeah.
So
You're not gonna screw somebody over and jeopardize years of content and effort. And that's what I always say to people when they get all sketchy about JVing a deal or whatever. I'm like, dude, do you think I would really risk everything that I spent years
right,
building for this one deal?
right, exactly. Cool. So where can people find you? How should they reach out to you if they want to reach out, send you deals? Where should they send you deals? Give us all the plugs.
Tadi Virtual, one word all together, on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, everything. TikTok. Yeah. So, but Instagram's the best place to DM me. I do go on live a lot. So if you just want to ask like random questions in real time, just hop on a live, and I pretty much answer everything in those. So yeah, Instagram is the best place though.
Gotcha. And you have coaching, right? Like, how do people join
Yes.
coaching?
So I do, in my Instagram, in the first link in the bio, you can apply. So right now we're not taking anyone, but we will be again towards the end of the month. So kind of do like a pause, because I can't handle like a lot, because I really try to give people time and give people my energy. Yeah, go in there and apply, and then when a space opens up, we'll hop on a call and see if it's a good fit.
Tadi, thank you so much. Do you have any last words you want to say to
Thank you for having
the
me
audience?
on. I appreciate you thinking of me and bringing me on. It was fun.
Guys, next week, 5 p.m. PST, I will see y'all there. Thank you so much for coming live. Let's freaking go.